Hi, so my name is Marie Nugier. I'm the Head of Research and Communication at the International Drug Policy Consortium, or IDPC. IDPC is a global network of NGOs that come together to promote drug policies that are based on public health, human rights, development, human security, and civil society participation. One of the key objectives of IDPC is to facilitate the participation of civil society in key drug policy making processes, including at the United Nations level. So we decided to do this short video around the Commission on Narcotic Drugs, or CND, which is the UN policy making body on drug control. And so we want to explain what it is, what it's for, how it works, and most importantly, how NGOs can engage in the process. The CND is a functional commission of the Economic and Social Council, and it is tasked with taking decisions on drug control at the United Nations. It is composed of 53 member states, which are elected by the Economic and Social Council according to regional distribution. However, all member states of the United Nations can attend the meeting as observers, and so can UN agencies and civil society. The CND gathers every year at the Vienna International Center in Austria. The main CND session takes place in March. This is where the CND meets for about a week. And then the CND reconvenes in December to talk about mainly administrative and budgetary issues. And they also agree on the agenda for the next CND session in March. If needed, the CND can also reconvene at what we call CND intersessional meetings. And this is only if they need to discuss key drug policy issues. So, for example, in the lead up to the UNGAS, governments met quite often during CND intersessionals to talk about the modalities for the UNGAS. And after April 2016, they met again to talk about follow-up for the UNGAS outcome document. In this video, I'm only going to focus on the March main CND meeting. So first, the CND negotiates and adopts resolutions. So these are negotiated every year by consensus, and they aim to guide member states in the implementation of the UN drug control treaties. The resolutions are also a way to guide and monitor the work of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. Secondly, the CND discusses the global state of play on drug control. So this provides a space for member states to talk about the drug control activities they're implementing on the ground and on the impacts that these have on communities. So thirdly, the CND votes on scheduling new substances in the United Nations Drug Convention. So that includes the 1961 and 1971 drug conventions. The way it works is that the World Health Organization conducts medical and scientific assessments of these substances and recommends scheduling to the CND. It's then up to the CND to accept or reject the recommendations by vote. There are various meetings that are being held at the CND in March. The first one is the plenary session. So this takes place throughout the week from Monday to Friday, and this is where member states make statements which are usually prepared in advance. Member states, regional groups, UN agencies and civil society can make statements at the CND. So usually priority is given to high-level officials, then to regional bodies, and then to other member states and civil society. However, civil society is only given space to make statements if there is time available at the end of the session. The plenary session is also where the CND votes on scheduling substances. And finally, all the resolutions that are negotiated by the CND throughout the week are then taken back to the plenary and adopted officially by the CND. And this is also where the CND negotiates and adopts the official report of the CND. The Committee of the Whole runs in parallel with the plenary session. It usually starts on Monday afternoon and ends either on Thursday night or Friday morning. And this is where the resolutions are being negotiated by member states. You do need to note that civil society and UN agencies cannot be involved in the negotiations. However, they can attend as observers. The resolutions can only be proposed by one of the 53 member states of the CND ahead of the meeting, usually about a month before. Then the resolutions are negotiated paragraph by paragraph throughout the week and adopted by consensus. If there is a key point of contention between member states at the Committee of the Whole where they cannot find an agreement, member states convene in what we call an informal session or informals. These are close to UN agencies and civil society. Once member states have found a compromise within these informal meetings, the negotiations go back to the Committee of the Whole, which have to agree and adopt what has been negotiated in the informals. In addition to the plenary and the Committee of the Whole, you have what we call side events. These take place in the mornings and at lunchtimes every day during the week, so that they don't clash with the official proceedings. The side events can be organized by member states, UN agencies and civil society, or a combination of all of these. And they're very important because they're very short events, they're only 50 minutes long, but they're an opportunity to have a proper, thorough debate on key points that can't necessarily make it to the main proceedings. Some special events can also be organized, and these are a bit longer, they're an hour and a half, but they're usually only organized by UNODC. In addition to side events, you have informal NGO dialogues. These are usually coordinated by the Vienna NGO Committee on Drugs, and they enable civil society to meet with high-level United Nations officials that work on drug control. So these includes the Executive Director of UNODC, the President of the International Narcotics Control Board, and the Chair of the CND. And these enable civil society to raise questions and have a dialogue with these high-level officials on drug control issues. Any NGO can attend the CND provided that they get a badge to enter the United Nations building. To do that, you need to be accredited by an NGO that has ECOSOC accreditation. Each ECOSOC accredited NGO can have up to 5 passes that they can provide to an NGO delegate, and they have an extra pass for the executive director. Some NGOs are also able to attend the CND as part of their official government delegation, so they need to get prior authorization from their government delegate, but that enables them to get access to sessions where the civil society is not necessarily able to attend. So for example, the informal meetings where they negotiate text of the resolutions. Finally, NGOs can also attend as media. So to do that, you need to get prior accreditation from a media outlet in your country. To figure out who is who at CND, it's relatively easy. You just have to look at the color of the badge. So if it's a yellow badge, it's an NGO delegate. If it's a red badge, it's a government delegate. If it's a blue badge, it's a UN delegate. And if it's green, then it's media. There are a number of ways in which NGOs can influence the debates at CND. The first one, and obvious one, is to make a statement in a plenary session. Usually these statements are coordinated by the Vienna NGO Committee on Drugs. However, you can also go directly to the front of the room where there is a UNODC desk with staff there, and you can just tell them you would like to make a statement on behalf of your organization on the agenda item that is currently being discussed. However, you need to note that only NGOs accredited by ECOSOC can make a statement in the plenary. A second way in which you can engage at CND is by organizing a bilateral meeting with government delegates. All of them have gathered in one room for the whole week, so it gives you ample opportunities to go to them and ask them for an informal meeting. It's also a good way to engage on the CND issues, to talk about resolutions or provide feedback or comments on key points in the agenda of the CND. The CND is also a very good opportunity to network with some of the hundreds of organizations that are attending the Commission every year. There is also an NGO lounge that helps facilitate meetings with civil society there. You can also organize a side event with UN agencies and government officials, or you can invite these officials to your own side event, and that helps create links and also show your work. The UNODC launches a call in December. You can propose a side event on the 1st to the 3rd weeks of January, and then these are approved, but they're only approved on first come and first served basis, and also on civil society with ECOSOC accreditation can propose a side event. You can also reach out to top UN officials working on drug control through informal NGO dialogues. And finally, you can also share and disseminate publications and reports from your organization. There is an NGO table which is placed near the plenary session, but you can also distribute your materials directly with member states or UN agencies, and obviously you can also share them at side events provided that you've got prior agreement from the organizers. To finish, there are a few resources that you can look at if you're interested in attending the CND and learning more. The first one is the CND website, which includes all the official information and documentation around the CND, including the draft resolutions, which are usually uploaded at the end of February. You can also have a look at the IDPC website, where we have a dedicated web page that includes all the latest information around CND. I also encourage you to have a look at the CND blog, which is a live record of what's happening at CND. So we go there and we blog live during the whole week in partnership with other civil society organizations. And that enables you to track what your member state has said at CND this year, but also in the past few years, and hold them accountable when you go back home. The CND app is also now downloadable on Android and iPhone stores. The app will be able to guide you and help you navigate the CND throughout the week, and that enables you to receive live updates on which agenda item comes to the plenary, which resolution is being negotiated, and what's the status of these resolutions, and which side event is happening, when and where. I also encourage you to have a look at the website of the Vienna NGO Committee on Drugs, which will enable you to have a look at some key information about civil society engagement at the CND, including a guide for NGOs to participate at CNDs. Finally, every year we hold a webinar, which is usually taking place about 2 weeks before the CND, and where we provide key information about the specific CND event, including key agenda items and resolutions. And if you want to receive the latest updates on global drug policy and the CND, don't forget to subscribe to the IDPC newsletter. Thank you very much.